Revealed, 14 sinister and spine-chilling true horror stories that will haunt you forever. Emma had always believed the worst thing about small towns was how everyone knew your business. But in the quiet hours at the convenience store, night would wrap around her like a suffocating shroud. Shadows scuttled along the aisles, flickering just out of sight. Emma felt their eyes cold, staring, haunting. Every late-night shift became a contest of nerves, a battle against the whispers that drifted through the air like smoke. One night, as she arranged a fresh display of midnight snacks, a shiver crawled down her spine. The usual hum of the fluorescent lights buzzed louder, and the metallic clang of the register echoed unnaturally. There was no one else in the store, yet she could swear she heard faint laughter, almost childlike, skittering behind the shelves. She froze, heart racing, scanning the darkened corners. Each breath felt like a gasp, heavy with fear. Her 16-year-old daughter, Mia, seemed lost in her own world. Ever since the whole texting mess started, Emma dismissed it as teenage drama. But the haunted look in Mia's eyes didn't sit right with her. Mysterious messages churned in Mia's phone, unsettling pieces that formed a puzzle with sinister edges. Every night, Emma swore she'd address it, but the shadows in the store distracted her, pulling her away from the real horrors brewing at home. One evening, the neighbor, Tom, casually offered assistance after hearing about Emma's hectic schedules. He was always friendly, a beacon of support in their tight-knit community. But Emma knew something wasn't right. The way he smiled too easily, how he always seemed to linger just a moment longer than necessary, made her gut twist. She felt it, something dark simmering beneath his perfect facade, and with every passing day, an ominous connection to the unsettling house across the street grew clearer. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, and then came the day meant to fix everything, a shopping spree for Mia's birthday. Emma held on to hope, gripping the memory of laughter they once shared. She would find something, she would rekindle that bond. Browsing the candy aisle, she turned to Mia, giggling as they debated over gummy bears or chocolate. But when she looked back, Mia was gone, as if the floor had swallowed her whole. Panic seized Emma's throat. "Mia!" she yelled, racing through the store, her voice echoing off the barren shelves. Outside, the parking lot felt like an abyss, shadows stretched and contorted, whispering lies. Each step she took felt heavier, a tug in her chest thrumming with betrayal. Hadn't she trusted this town? Pushing through the shattered remnants of the once vibrant community center nearby, fear clawed at her. The peeling walls whispered of lost dreams, filled with the innocence of children now extinguished. Faces she knew too well felt unfamiliar, as if hidden truths lingered beneath their very skin. The shadows loomed closer, twisting and beckoning. Mia was out there, waiting, just out of reach. What other sinister disappearances had happened here? Emma stumbled forward, breath hitching, realization dawning with dreadful clarity. She had feared the darkness, when perhaps the true danger was the comforting smiles of those she thought she knew. Time was slipping, and in the depths of her wife's heart, she knew those familiar faces could harbor malicious intent. The weight of every moment pressed down as the silence wrapped around her. Where was Mia? The unnatural buzzing of the lights turned into a dirge. As an overwhelming feeling of being watched struck her, the last question lingered in the air: could she escape the very shadows that had creeped into her life, or was the darkness just beginning? Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she pushed through empty hallways of the community center. Where had Mia gone? She struggled to find her footing, her mind racing. Shadows flitted just beyond her vision, taunting, creeping closer. Each echo strapped her deeper into dread. She could feel the darkness thickening, wrapping around her like a vice. "Mia!" she called again, this time her voice trembled. It was swallowed by the silence, leaving only the buzz of overhead lights that hung like vultures. The weight of the darkness closed in as though the walls themselves were conspiring against her. Emma felt her breath hitch. A door creaked at the far end of the corridor. She turned, and in that fleeting moment, she thought she saw a flash of white, a shirt belonging to her daughter. Hope flickered inside her, igniting a desperate urgency as she sprinted toward the sound. Each step echoed louder, the thud of her feet against the cracked tiles mingling with her erratic heartbeat. "Mia!" she shouted one last time. The door swung open a fraction of an inch before slamming against the wall. Cold air rushed out, biting her skin, and a bitter scent filled her nostrils, something rot-like, sour. She steeled herself and edged in. Inside, the room was dark, lit only by a single flickering bulb that fought against the gloom. Emma's heart sank at the stark emptiness. The room bore signs of neglect, overturned furniture, rotting posters, dim corners brimming with cobwebs. It felt like a ghost of a place forgotten and haunting. "Mia!" Panic surged. She turned, and a whisper brushed against her ear, like an icy breath from the void. "Help me!" Emma spun around, eyes wide, searching for the source. A fleeting glimpse caught her attention, a figure darting out of sight. "Mia!" She lunged toward the direction, her limbs fueled by fear and desperation. Suddenly, the floor groaned underfoot. A sharp crack of wood broke the silence, causing her to freeze. In that moment, the shadows twisted, darkened. And she felt it, a presence. Something malicious lurking, and it wasn't just the absence of light that chilled her to the bone. "What do you want?" she stammered, backing away slowly. All those familiar faces back in the store, Tom with his too bright smile, they flickered before her, transformed into distorted, sinister grins that laughed at her vulnerability. A soft, sinister chuckle reverberated off the walls, and it echoed tightly around her. "She south so close, would you like to see her?" The room spun, shadows exploded into shapes that reached toward her. Fear gripped Emma as she stumbled backwards, her hand brushing against something wet. She glanced down. It was a torn piece of fabric, stained dark. "That couldn't be Mia's, could it? Your little girl is more than a memory," the voice taunted, now right in front of her, sinister and sweetly mocking. Emma shook her head, desperate to deny the truth creeping in. She had to find Mia, she had to escape. Gathering every last ounce of courage, she turned and bolted toward the door, but it slammed shut in front of her, an invisible force trapping her inside. The shadows danced around her, encircling her, drawing closer. She screamed, pounding her fists against the door. It was no use. "As long as you're here, you're one of us," the voice whispered again, tantalizing, wrapping around her like a noose. In that terrifying moment, surrounded by darkness and despair, the reality she dreaded finally dawned on her. Those she thought she could trust were now shades of her old life, each one a puppet in the hands of a malign puppeteer. Could she accept her reality, or would she become yet another lost soul in this abyss? The laughter grew, intertwining with her own fear, and just when she thought hope was extinguished, a faint sound broke through Mia's voice. It couldn't be a figment of her imagination, could it? "Mama, help!" The world tilted, shrouded in darkness, as she reached for the latch, heart racing, desperate to respond. But could she bear the truth hidden in the shadows? Each heartbeat seemed to yell no, the ambiguity clawing at her insides. What's waiting for her on the other side? The darkness pulled back ever so slightly, and as she braced for what lay ahead, a sinister thought struck her. If she could hear Mia, was she truly safe? Emma's hand trembled as she grasped the cold, unyielding handle. Each breath was shallow, panic clenching her chest tighter with every passing second. The shadows danced again, forming twisted shapes that lunged closer, feeding on her fear. She could hear her own heart thrumming like a drum in the silence, drowning out the rest of the world. "Mama, help!" The voice echoed again, a desperate plea that sliced through the chaos. Was it real, or another trick of this terrible place? Emma hesitated, uncertainty clawing at her mind with jagged nails. "Mommy's coming!" she shouted, her voice cracking as she pushed against the door. It wouldn't budge. The feeling of entrapment intensified, and she could almost hear the dark laughter swirling around her, hungry for despair. She turned to face the room, something newfound igniting a spark of resolve. "I want to let you take me." She barked defiantly into the void. The dark shapes froze for a moment, as if warming themselves on the embers of her anger, before lunging once more. Emma flinched but stood firm. Whatever was locked in here with her would not keep her from Mia. Straining against the door, she threw her shoulder into it with all her weight. With a deafening crash, it finally gave way, spilling her into a narrow hallway shrouded in musty darkness. The air felt thick, pressing against her skin. Every instinct screamed for her to turn back, to retreat to the ghostly room, yet the call of her daughter's voice pulled her deeper. "Mia!" Emma called again, her voice gaining strength, echoing down the corridor, bouncing off cracked walls littered with peeling paint. She raced forward, navigating the unfamiliar maze before her. Each turn felt like a gamble, an uneasy leap into the unknown, but the voice, faint yet insistent, guided her. It flickered in and out, like a weak signal on a radio, growing louder with every step and then receding just as she neared. There was a door at the end of the hall. Emma saw it cresting through the shadows, a sliver of hope amidst the darkness. Gripping the handle, she paused, held captive by a feeling of dread. She sensed a presence lurking, watching her every move. "Mama!" The cry rippled through the air again, more desperate than before. No more hesitation. She swung the door open, flooding her senses with an acrid smell that turned her stomach. Inside, Mia sat in the corner, hair wild, face tear-streaked and pale. Relief washed over Emma, but it quickly morphed into horror as she noticed the room, barred windows, stained walls, remnants of something twisted, something sinister. "Mia!" She flew to her daughter, scooping her into her arms, drawing her close. But Mia didn't hug back. Instead, she stiffened, staring wide-eyed beyond Emma's shoulder. "Mommy, don't turn around," she whispered, voice shaking. Emma's heart dropped. Instinctively, she turned her head just a fraction, barely catching a glimpse of the silhouette forming in the dim light, a figure cloaked in shadow, twisted and wrong, grinning madly. "Welcome back to us," it cooed, the voice wrapping around her like a serpent. Black dread pooled in Emma's stomach. Every instinct screamed at her to flee. The door loomed as a hollow promise behind them, but where could they run to now? "Come, join us," the figure said again, stretching its arms wide, drawing nearer. Tears filled Mia's eyes, her small hand clutching Emma's shirt, pulling her to safety. But Emma knew this figure wasn't just a shadow, it was alive, gripping Mia tighter. Emma felt the shadows pulsing, reaching out to her with insatiable hunger. She had to escape, but the tangible weight of darkness pressed down on them, threatening to crush her spirit. "Mommy, we can't stay." Mia's voice was small, barely above a whisper. "Mia, hold on tightly. Whatever happens, don't let go." She turned her gaze back to the sinister figure, now inches away, its grotesque face twisting. In that suffocating dread, the walls of reality seemed to warp, bending around them like a cruel game. Could they break free? Or would they too, become shadows trapped forever in the claws of this unimaginable horror? As Emma prepared to run, the figure grinned wider, whispering secrets of their demise. The fabric of hope frayed, leaving behind a chilling question: what would it truly cost to escape this nightmare? Emma's heart raced. The shadow figure loomed closer, its face a grotesque mask of delight, almost relishing their fear. She could almost feel its cold breath, an unexpected chill that enveloped her, sending tremors through her bones. "Mia, we have to." Before she could finish, the figure lunged, and Emma felt a tug that yanked her feet off the ground, pulling her back toward the dark abyss. "No!" she screamed, grasping Mia tighter, desperately fighting against the unseen pull. The shadows writhed like serpents around her, eager to claim their prize. Instinctively, she pressed her back against the wall, but it offered no comfort or safety. "Mommy, please." Mia's plea cut through the chaos, snapping Emma's focus back to the moment. Gritting her teeth, she planted her feet firmly on the floor and, fueled by pure instinct, sprinted toward the doorway, dragging Mia along. The shadows hissed in protest, like angry spirits recoiling from the light of their desperation. As they reached the door, it slammed shut with a resonating force. Emma's pulse quickened. This was not just a house, it was alive, wickedly intent on keeping them inside. With no time left to hesitate, she turned the handle with all her strength. The door wouldn't budge. Panic clawed at her throat, choking her. Mama Mia whimpered, her little hands trembling in Emma's grip. Just hold on. She screamed back, a mix of fear and determination igniting within her. We will get out of here. Emma felt the shadows creeping up around them, claws of darkness reaching for her, but this time she would not be a victim. She slammed her shoulder into the door, each impact sending shockwaves of pain through her body, but she had no choice. Every blow made her muscles scream, but this was for Mia. With one final push, the door flew open, the hinges screaming in protest, and they tumbled out into what appeared to be a large, dimly lit room. The stark contrast of the hallway's suffocating darkness flickered like a dying candle compared to this space. But the relief was short-lived. The room was vast, littered with broken furniture, dust swirling like spirits trapped in a cage. And the walls, they were pulsing, alive with slithering shadows, flickers of movement making the air thick with tension. Emma's eyes darted around, searching for an escape. The windows were barricaded, iron bars cold and unforgiving. Mia, straight ahead. We have to make it to that corner. Without waiting for a response, Emma pulled Mia forward, but the moment they moved, the darkness stirred. Forms emerged from the shadows, face after face, twisted and sorrowful, eyes hollow and pleading, beckoning her to join them. Join us, they whispered in unison, their voices a haunting melody. Emma's breath hitched in her throat. No. She shouted defiantly. The shadows lurched, feeding on her fear, growing bolder with each moment. Mama, I can't take it. Mia sobbed, pulling at Emma's shirt as the air thickened with despair. Look at me. Emma commanded, forcing herself to focus. We'll get out. I promise. But as she spoke those words, the room shifted, the walls tightening like a vice. She could feel it closing in, suffocating her. The figures swirled closer, their mouths stretching wider with glee. Desperation clawed at her heart. Emma frantically searched for a way out, and in that quiet moment between breaths, she spotted what she hoped was freedom, a trapdoor half hidden beneath a tattered rug. Over there. But before they reached it, the shadowy figures burst forth, scrambling, grappling. Their fingers were like ice against her skin, trying to pull her back into their cold embrace. Mama! Hurry! Mia wailed, a note of panic piercing through the suffocating gloom. The shadows writhed and hissed, tightening their grip. This was the moment of truth. Would they surrender to this nightmare or tear through the darkness together? With a final scream, Emma threw herself toward the trapdoor, dragging Mia with her. Would they escape, or were they destined to slip into the void? The shadows lunged after them, hungry, their sinister laughter ringing in Emma's ears as she let go of everything, praying for survival. And then, the world fell away. What awaited them on the other side? Emma gasped as they tumbled down the narrow opening, her world spinning in a dizzying vortex of darkness and fear. She had a fleeting sense of weightlessness before they crashed onto a cold, hard surface. The air was thick here, carrying a smell that was a nauseating mix of damp earth and decay. Mama! Mia cried, her voice trembling. Emma's breath caught as she instinctively wrapped her arms around her daughter, holding her tightly against the chill. Shoo, Emma whispered, her eyes straining to make out any shapes in the dim light. They were in a cramped basement, with flickering bulbs overhead casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls. It felt wronger than the house above them. Each flicker intensified the sense of something lurking just out of sight, waiting. Are we safe? Mia asked, her voice barely above a whisper, haunted by fear. No, sweetheart. Emma's throat felt tight, the shadows from above still echoing in her mind. But we have to keep moving. She dared to peer around. In the corner stood a wooden shelf caked in dust, jars of murky liquids lined the edges like eyes watching them. But it was the doorway at the far end that caught her attention. Dim light leaked through the cracks, suggesting a way out. Before she could motion for Mia to follow, a low growl echoed from the shadows, chilling her to the bone. Emma turned sharply, focusing on the darkness. The growl morphed into a high-pitched whimper, as if something was caught between torment and hunger. Mamma Mia's voice quivered, instinctively pressing closer to Emma. "Stay close to me," Emma urged, her heart pounding. What kind of horrors awaited them in this desolate place? She squeezed Mia's hand, the only tether of safety in a sea of uncertainty. Taking cautious steps forward, she breathed through the fear that clawed at her throat. With every inch closer to the door, the growls intensified, reverberating in the small space like an angry storm. Something was definitely there, and it was hungry. Suddenly, the door creaked open slightly, revealing a tall figure standing in the light. Emma squinted, unable to see clearly. Was it a savior or another monster? The figure stepped closer into the flickering light, revealing a fragile woman with hollow cheeks and eyes laden with despair. "Help us," the woman pleaded, stretching out her hand. Emma felt an odd pull toward her, a flicker of hope igniting within her. "Are you okay?" Emma asked, hesitating. Was this a trick? Suddenly, the shadows around them seemed to hiss with impatience, as if eager to drown out her allegiances. "Run," the woman rasped, her voice cracking like old wood. "Before they come. They watch, they hunger for souls. You have to run." Emma felt the urgency in her words. Without another thought, Emma dashed toward the door, yanking Mia along. The woman's warning echoed in her mind as the shadows writhed closer, their whispers louder, thrumming with dread. But just as they hustled through the threshold, the darkness erupted behind them, howling as if in rage. The woman, standing helplessly frozen in place, was engulfed by the gaping maw of shadows. "Mama!" Mia screamed, her whole being shaking with terror. "Go, go!" Emma urged, her heart breaking for the sacrifice but knowing they had to survive. They ran into the hallway beyond, the faint glow of dim overhead lights guiding their way. But every thump of their footsteps only triggered the shadows into frenzied movement, striking against the ground like angry fists. "Mama, what was that?" Mia trembled, glancing back as they fled. "Just keep going, baby. Don't look back," Emma shouted, urging her to sprint harder, the cold air stinging their lungs. Just ahead, a staircase loomed like a beacon. Hope ignited within her, but something else nagged at the edges of her mind, an instinctual fear that told her not all would end well. The shadows grew restless behind them, their breath hot and furious, as if they were the very hounds of hell unleashed. With each step, Emma could feel them closing in, ready to snatch her back into their dark clutches. As they reached the top of the stairs, Emma slammed the door shut with a deafening crack, bracing herself against it. But what lay ahead? Would it be safety or another horror waiting to unfold? The door rattled violently, the shadows howling, clawing desperately to break through. Mamma Mia whimpered, eyes wide with fear. Emma looked into her daughter's terrified eyes, heart sinking. "We have to find a way out before they come for us again." But deep down, she could feel that this was far from over. Emma pressed her back against the door, feeling the wood tremble as something heavy slammed into it from the other side. Darkness howled like a living thing, a vengeful presence that clawed at their only refuge. "Mama," Mia breathed low, her small body shaking. "Shoo, just stay quiet." Emma's voice was barely a whisper. She closed her eyes for a moment, grounding herself in the sound of her daughter's heart racing against her own. They couldn't stay here, the shadows would find a way in, just like those tales of monsters in the night. In the dim light, Emma scanned the hall they had fled into. It was narrow and lined with doors that all looked the same, old, peeling paint and rusting doorknobs, each a portal to the unknown. She couldn't afford to linger. They needed to find the source of light that promised escape. As another furious thud erupted against the door, she gripped Mia's hand tightly and started running again. Each doorway felt like a mouth ready to swallow them whole, ready to spit them back into the clutches of whatever prowled in the dark. Where do we go? Mia's voice was a choked whisper. There. We have to reach the end. Emma pointed toward a sliver of light flickering at the farthest corner. Hope flickered with it, a fragile candle against encroaching darkness. The soft glow danced, inviting but deceptive. The shadows were relentless, surging closer, disappearing behind them before creeping forth again. Every breath Emma took felt laced with smoke, choking her resolve. Mia stumbled slightly. Emma tightened her grip and pulled her upright. Keep moving, sweetie. They reached the end of the hallway. The light brightened, illuminating a large wooden door. Emma shoved it wide open, revealing a room flooded with cheery daylight, a stark contrast to the terror they had just escaped. Breathless, Emma stepped inside, dragging Mia along, only to pause in confusion. The room was oddly decorated, filled with beautiful portraits, serene landscapes, smiling families. Each painting seemed to watch, their painted eyes glinting like malevolent stars. There was something off about them, a chill running down Emma's spine as she felt their gaze follow her. Mama, I don't like it in here, Mia whispered, shuddering. Yes, I know. Emma was already moving towards a second door in the back. She felt compelled to keep going, keep searching for a way out. The flickering lights of that first door seemed to promise safety, but the very presence of those paintings felt like they were lying in wait. Just then, a low, rasping sound echoed from the corner of the room. Emma spun around, heart dropping as she saw a shadow rising from behind the canvas of one of the portraits. It was merging from the painting, a dark figure writhing and twisting as if breaking free from a binding spell. The smell of decay wafted into her nostrils, making her gag. Run! Emma screamed, pulling Mia's arm, darting for the door, but another growl emanated, more menacing than the last. The shadows from behind the portraits surged, eager to reclaim their lost prey. Just as they bolted out the door, Emma caught a glimpse of the figure, a twisted face, half-formed, its empty eyes leaking darkness. Mama! Mia cried, and they tumbled out of the room, slamming the door behind them. They stood momentarily in an eerily quiet hallway. Behind them came a soft whisper, insidious and beckoning. Join us! Each of Emma's instincts screamed danger. They were not safe here. They had to keep moving. But at what cost? Where do we go now? Mia asked, trembling. Emma's heartbeat raced. It felt like the shadows had multiplied, and time was running out. We'll find another way, we just have to keep going. But as she scanned their grim surroundings, a dark thought clawed at her mind. What if there was no escape? What if the hunt was just beginning? As they took a cautious step forward, the walls pulsated like a living entity, almost inviting them back into the sinister embrace of the unknown. Emma's heart thudded like a drum, drowning out the whispers that seemed to seep from the very walls. It felt as if the building, steeped in shadows, thrived on their fear, drawing strength from the unease that gripped her throat. Look! Mia's voice pierced through the tension, pointing toward a flickering light that emerged from a doorway just a few feet away. It was a soft yellow, almost warm, contrasting sharply with the oppressive gloom around them. Emma swallowed hard, battling the urge to flee into that light, yet something about it stirred her anxiety. Should we? Mia asked, her innocent eyes searching Emma's for reassurance. Let us keep moving, Emma replied, willing herself forward, but her feet felt like lead. They pressed on down the corridor, shadows creeping across the floor as if alive. She dared not glance behind. She could almost feel the gaze from the portraits bearing down on them, the painted families transforming into sinister spectators, reveling in their plight. Suddenly, the light from the door flickered out. An unnatural chill swept through the hall, and an eerie silence blanketed the air. Emma's breath hitched, fear pooling in her stomach. She glanced at the door again. What just happened? She murmured. Mama. Mia tugged at Emma's sleeve, her voice trembling. "I don't want to be here anymore." Emma's resolve faltered, but she clasped Mia's hand tighter. "We can't give up. We have to keep moving." Together, they pressed on, but every door they passed felt hollow, as if they were all empty promises hiding horrors behind them. The stillness felt suffocating, broken only by their hurried breaths. Then, a clang reverberated from their right, a door swinging open with a furious creak. Emma jolted, turning to see a figure silhouetted in the doorway. It was cloaked in darkness, features indistinguishable, but the air crackled around it, charging the atmosphere with danger. "Help!" The voice was raspy, echoing like it came from a long-buried grave. "Please, Mama!" Mia shrieked, her tiny frame pressed against Emma as they stumbled backward, almost colliding with a wall. "No! Don't listen!" Emma's instinct screamed, the air turning heavy with dread. She turned sharply, leading Mia further down the passage. But the closer they moved to the end of the hallway, the more the air thickened, the walls squeezing their bodies. Every step felt like a race against the encroaching shadows that danced just out of reach. They dashed through an open door that led into a dilapidated room, illuminated only by the flicker of a single bulb swaying above them. Emma gasped, her eyes taking in the scattered debris, broken furniture, shattered glass, and the unmistakable smell of rot lurking in the corners. "Leave!" A cold whisper slithered through the air. A shiver ran down Emma's spine. The voice was a distorted echo, filling the room as if a hidden presence was speaking through the crumbling walls. "Mama, we have to go back." Mia whimpered. "No." Emma shot back, fear giving her strength. "We can't go back there." Their only choice was to plunge deeper into this haunting labyrinth, a prison of shadows that threatened to swallow them whole. Emma forced herself to breathe, searching for another way. Her heart raced as panic tightened around her chest. She suddenly caught movement out of the corner of her eye, something shifting, coiling in the darkness just beyond the reach of the flickering light. Nerve-wracking laughter bubbled up from somewhere, chilling her to the bone. "Join us!" The voices crooned again, layering over one another, a twisted harmony that echoed mockingly through the air. "What if we can't escape?" Mia whispered, her tiny hand trembling in Emma's grip. "They won't take us." Emma cried out, but uncertainty clawed at her sanity. As she turned to find another exit, a sound like a frenzied skittering raced toward them. Shadows pooled around her feet, and she felt the walls closing in. That moment, as the darkness surged forward with intent, the reality hit her like a cold wave. There was something inside this place, something waiting, watching. Whatever it was, it might already be here. "Mama!" Mia's voice broke through the chaos, pulling Emma's gaze, and there it was, emerging from the darkness, a figure cloaked in shadows, its empty eyes fixed on them, grinning with an impossibly wide smile. Emma couldn't move. They had to run, but the way behind them was already swallowed by the hungry dark. Panic fluttered wildly as they stood frozen, but Mia, in a desperate bid for escape, dashed forward, toward the flickering light of hope into the unknown. And Emma screamed, "No!" But it was too late. What would the darkness demand in return? Emma rushed forward, her heart slamming against her ribcage. The moment Mia dashed into the light, it shattered into fragments of brightness that danced dangerously around them. "Mia!" Emma's voice echoed in the void, but the shadows swallowed her scream. She lunged after her daughter, but the ground seemed to shift beneath her, her feet stumbling over invisible roots that moaned as she pressed forward. The flickering light twisted like a lure, leading them on a path thick with dread. "Mama!" Mia's voice faded, and the darkness roared in response, hungry and relentless. Emma felt the cold seep into her bones, paralyzing her with dread. The walls pulsed, mist-like shadows reaching out, curling around her limbs as if trying to drag her back into their suffocating embrace. Each step felt heavier, weighed down by the despair that gnawed at her insides. "Mia!" She called again, desperation twisting her throat. A bitter wind howled through the corridor, echoing with laughter that wasn't just a sound, it was an invasion. It seeped into her mind, sowing doubt. Was Mia even there? Had she lost her completely? Rushing forward, Emma's fingers brushed against the peeling wallpaper. It felt soft and damp, the texture reminiscent of a skin that had decayed long ago. A sudden shriek pierced the silence. Mia. The sound echoed through the hallways, slicing through the darkness. It wasn't just despair, it was pure terror. Emma felt freezing fingers clutching at her heart, urging her to keep moving, pushing through the shadows that felt alive. As she turned a corner, a door loomed ahead. It was wide open, light spilling from within. Without thinking, Emma ran. She burst through the threshold, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The room was brighter than the hall, littered with dust motes swirling in the beam of light. It looked like a study, filled with vintage books, an ancient desk looming in the center. Just as a sense of safety flickered within her, a voice whispered, not cold this time, but seductive, promising. "Join us." The statement penetrated her mind, tethering her to the floor. She turned slowly, heart thudding wildly. Behind the desk lay her. A girl of slight figure, with dark hair cascading like a waterfall, her face pale and hauntingly familiar. "Mia." Emma's breath hitched. "Mommy. I found them. We can stay." Mia's voice was soft, almost sweet, but the glint in her eyes was wrong, cold and void of warmth. "No. Mia, we must leave." Emma reached out, but the shadows sprung to life around her, coiling around her feet like serpents. Mia smiled wide, a grin that split her delicate features in a way that felt wrong, cruel. "They will take care of us, Mama. Forever." Emma's heart raced, pure panic coursing through her veins. The walls quivered, and a nightmarish whisper echoed within her, "Stay with us." With a surge of adrenaline, Emma yanked her foot free from the shadowy grip. "No!" she cried, stumbling backward. "I want to let you take her." She turned to flee, desperate to escape despite the darkness clawing at her, the familiar lullaby of despair wrapping around her like a shroud. She burst out of the study, rushing back into the hall only to find it warped, impossibly shifting as the very fabric of that place conspired against her. "Mama, come back." Mia's voice was a haunting call that echoed off the walls. Emma pushed forward, her pulse pounding in her ears. Each door loomed like a threat, and the very air thickened with malevolence. Then she heard something else, laughter, sinister and disembodied, reverberating from the shadows. "Leave her, join us." The voices of countless souls pealed into her mind, urging her to surrender. Emma stumbled, knowing she had to make a choice. But the path ahead was consumed by darkness, the flickering light ahead fading away. She had to reach Mia. "Mia!" she screamed, her voice cracking, a plea against the encroaching silence that threatened to swallow her whole. Then, it flickered back. It was right there, a glimmer, the warmth promising a way out. But as Emma felt hope ignite, a figure emerged from the shadows, the true darkness of the house revealing itself. It stepped forward, a grotesque half-formed silhouette, a twisted parody of a human, grinning wider as it beckoned her. "Mama," it rasped, the voice sickly sweet, vibrating with malice. "Mia!" Emma's scream rang out, piercing the chaos. But there was no answer, just the growing encirclement of shadows, their whispers melding into one. "You belong to us now." As the terrifying figure advanced, a realization struck Emma. What lay ahead may be a choice between the child she fought to save and a darkness that could consume them both. What would be the price of escape? Emma's heartbeat thundered in her ears, drowning out the laughter that taunted her from the shadows. "Mia!" she screamed again, desperation lacing every syllable. The figure moved closer, its edges blurring and reshaping, as if it was still deciding what it wanted to be. She turned to flee, but the shadows writhed, blocking her path. The air thickened, sour like rotten fruit, wrapping around her lungs and squeezing. Emma stumbled back into the study, her mind racing, trying to piece together what to do. "Mama, don't leave me." Mia's voice rang out, serene yet chilling. The way it danced through the air felt wrong, like a dark spell snaking around her heart. Emma's feet refused to follow her instincts, they felt anchored to the ground, a consequence of the whispers entwining her mind. "Join us." The voice slurred, seductive yet morbidly joyful. "Stop!" Emma yelled, pressing her palms against her ears, but it was too late. The laughter grew louder, echoing sorrow and triumph. She could almost feel shadowy fingers tugging at her thoughts, pulling her deeper into their web. Taking a shaky breath, she forced herself to look at her daughter. Mia stood within the light that flickered above the desk, her expression soft yet hardened by something dark. The child Emma knew was gone, replaced by this eerie likeness, a hollow vessel painted with familiarity. "I'm right here, Mommy. Just look." Mia waved, an invitation marked by a sinister glint in her eyes. "Come home to me. We can be together forever." "Forever?" Emma gasped, realization crashing over her. Forever in this nightmare? But the shadows pulsed around her, and a chilling sense of inevitability closed in. She was trapped in a choice that felt more like a threat. The grotesque figure approached, drawn by its illusion of Mia. "You can save her," it taunted, grinning wider still, its mouth spilling darkness. "Join us." The walls of the room felt alive, shifting like a heartbeat. Emma's instinct screamed for escape. She thought of Mia, her laughter, her first steps, how she once felt safe in her embrace. But the light of hope flickered weakly, almost snuffed out by the encroaching night. "What will I have to give up?" Emma whispered, a tremor crawling up her spine. Would she have to surrender herself? Would she be traded for Mia? "I want you, Mama." The shadowy version of Mia reached out, her fingertips grazing the threshold of light. It felt almost as if the very air vibrated with a desperate plea. Emma knew she had only moments before her will crumble beneath the weight of despair. She lunged forward, toward the desk, her heart racing. With a sudden clarity, she ripped open the drawer at the ancient desk's edge and pulled out an obscured, glimmering object, a small, ornate pendant. It sparkled in the dim light, pulsating like a heartbeat. "Mama!" The phrase twisted into a wail, and the room quivered at the sound. Emma looked at the pendant, its surface showing reflections of both Mia and the dark figure. The whispers turned frantic, swirling around her, urging surrender. Emma clutched the pendant, a spark of rebellion igniting within her. "You want to take us?" She shouted over the cacophony, raising the pendant as if it were a shield against the darkness. The shadows froze for a split second. A moment of stillness hung heavy in the air. Dread filled her chest, a sinking thought: could this be the answer, or would it plunge her deeper? "Mama, you have to choose." The wretched echo of Mia's voice ricocheted, desperate yet fierce. With pounding heart and trembling hands, Emma prepared to confront whatever truth lay ahead. Could this pendant truly save them, or was it another false hope? As the darkness pressed in, seeking the last remnants of her resolve, she realized the next choice may be the last she ever had to make. What would she risk to find her daughter again? Emma's heart raced as the shadows pulsed, a relentless tide of darkness threatening to consume everything she loved. Her grip on the pendant tightened, the ancient metal cool against her palm. This was at the moment of decision, of desperation. "Mama, please come back." Mia's voice echoed within her, a chilling reminder of everything at stake. But the shadows were relentless, skittering toward her like hungry beasts, their whispers clawing at her sanity. "Leave us alone." Emma screamed, the words sounding like a fragile plea wrapped in determination. She thrust the pendant forward, the light within it flickering defiantly against the encroaching gloom. "I want to let you take us." A sudden silence fell over the chaotic room, thick and palpable. The grotesque form hunched forward, its eyes narrowing with interest, as if Emma's defiance had sparked a moment of absurd fascination. It hovered closer, drawn like a moth to flame. With a surge of adrenaline, Emma turned to face her daughter's apparition, the image of Mia caught in the flickering light. "Mia, listen to me. You're stronger than this, fight it. Remember us." The shadows around Mia flickered, momentarily disturbed by Emma's words, but then the twisted smile returned, gnashing at her resolve. "She belongs to us now, dear Emma, won't you join her?" "No." Emma shouted, forcing the words out over the cacophony created by the shifting shadows. I will fight for her. We will escape this. In an instant, the shadows lunged, snapping and crackling as they attempted to steal the pendant from her grasp. The air around Emma thickened, a suffocating weight pressing against her chest, but she held her ground. She focused on the glowing pendant and shouted into the void, I will take back what is mine. The pendant exploded with blinding light, illuminating every corner of the room, casting shadows that recoiled in pure terror. The laughter and mocking whispers turned to howls of anger, thrumming against the air, unfurling the tight grip that had held them captive. Mommy, no! Mia screamed, losing her footing on the precipice of the shadows. Emma charged forward, thrusting the pendant toward the figure that had tormented them. You will not take her. We are stronger than your darkness. With a blinding flash, the room erupted in a torrent of light that swallowed the shadows whole. Emma felt a rush of warmth envelop her senses as if the light were reaching into the marrow of her being, cleansing her heart of all fear and despair. In that moment, every ounce of love she held for Mia poured into the pendant, becoming a siren song that rang through the air. Mama! Mia! Emma's voice pierced the surge of light, and in that instant, the world shifted. The oppressive weight of darkness broke apart like clouds dispersing before a sunbeam. Then it happened. Mia broke free. The shadows shrieked in protest, but Emma surged forward, arms outstretched as her daughter tumbled toward her from the void. They collided in a fierce embrace, the warmth of their connection igniting more strength as the pendant pulsed between them, a beacon of hope. Mama, I was so scared. Mia cried, and Emma wept in response, squeezing her daughter tightly against her chest. It's okay, we're safe now. But the room wasn't done transforming. With the shadows banished, the walls shimmered and creaked open, revealing a blinding portal that pulsed with a warm glow, a path out of this nightmare. Hand in hand, Emma and Mia rushed towards the newly opened door, feeling clarity washing over them like invigorating waves. The echoes of darkness began to fade, the malignant laughter turning to mere whispers. As they stepped through the radiant doorway, Emma glanced back at the remnants of the shadows. We are stronger than you, she whispered, a newfound strength surging within her. The moment she crossed into the light, the oppressive darkness fell behind them, reduced to whispers swallowed by the wind. The world around them shifted to a sunlit park, colors bright and birds chirping, life blooming vibrantly once more. Mama! Mia exclaimed, looking around at the beauty surrounding them. Emma felt a tidal wave of relief wash over her. They were free. But it was real, she whispered, staring at her daughter, who smiled back, her eyes shimmering with the warmth of hope. It doesn't matter now. We're together. As the memories of that dark place faded gradually in both their hearts, Emma held Mia tighter, tears of relief streaming down her face. Together, they began walking across the park, the warmth of the sun wrapping around them like a safe embrace. They left behind the shadows and darkness, carrying the strength they built against fears in their hearts. Emma felt it, the weight of everything dripping away, leaving behind unbreakable bonds forged in the unrelenting fire of love. We'll always have each other, Emma promised, looking at Mia, the bond stronger than any shadow that dared threaten them again, and as they walked, hand in hand, Emma knew they were finally safe, no longer haunted, only free. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the horror rolling. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this heart-pounding ending, and don't wait even 1 more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel.